The world loves comfort. People crave ease, applause, and instant rewards. But the truth is, comfort is where dreams die. The top 1% of people live by a different code. A mindset built on discipline, sacrifice, and an unshakable belief that greatness comes only through struggle. Average is overcrowded. Excellence is lonely. The majority of people choose the path of least resistance because it feels safe. It feels comfortable to be surrounded by others who settle for good enough, who blend in, who never push beyond what's required. But the truth is, the top of the mountain has space for only a few. Excellence demands isolation. It demands that you walk roads that most people will never see because they turn back halfway. It's a place where comfort dies, where the noise fades, and where the only thing that echoes is your own determination to be more. Being average requires nothing but existence, showing up, doing what's expected, and never questioning the limits set by others. It's easy to be average because the world rewards mediocrity with temporary validation. You get praise for small efforts, sympathy for small failures, and excuses for not aiming higher. But excellence, that's a different world entirely. Excellence asks for sacrifice. It asks you to give up comfort, to let go of approval, and to work when nobody claps for you. It forces you to grow alone, to believe in your purpose even when the results don't show yet. The pursuit of excellence is not glamorous. It's quiet, often painful, and misunderstood. But that's where transformation begins. The crowd loves average because average feels achievable. People don't envy it, they accept it. But the moment you choose to rise above, the crowd disappears. The same people who once cheered for you might start to doubt you, mock you, or call you obsessed. And that's when the test begins. Can you keep going when no one believes in you? Can you push through the loneliness that comes with outgrowing the crowd? The journey toward excellence strips you of external validation. It forces you to rely on internal conviction. You start realizing that excellence isn't about being better than others. It's about being better than who you were yesterday. Every person who has achieved greatness has walked through seasons of isolation. The athlete training alone before dawn, the artist working through the night, the entrepreneur building in silence. All of them know what it means to feel unseen. But they also know that excellence cannot grow in crowds. It grows in solitude. In the moments when you question whether it's worth it and still choose to keep going. The loneliness of the climb is what separates the great from the good. Because when others give up for comfort, the few who persist create their own light. Average people often avoid discomfort, but excellence feeds on it. Pain, rejection, and failure become teachers instead of enemies. Each setback sharpens the blade. Each disappointment builds resilience. While the average person seeks shortcuts, the one chasing excellence embraces the process, no matter how slow or brutal it feels. They understand that mastery requires patience, and the path to greatness is not meant to be crowded. It's a road carved by discipline, guarded by consistency, and paved with silent sacrifices that no one sees, but everyone eventually respects. Excellence is lonely because it demands authenticity in a world obsessed with imitation. To be excellent means to think differently, to move differently, and to act differently. It means doing things that others won't do so that one day you can live in a way others can't. It's not about arrogance or superiority. It's about purpose. You know you were built for more, so you refuse to settle for less. And while others are busy fitting in, you're busy standing out, even if it means walking alone. Because deep down, you understand that greatness is never found in the crowd. It's found in the quiet corners of discipline, focus, and unshakable belief. Average is overcrowded because everyone wants the outcome, not the process. But excellence remains lonely because few are willing to pay its price. The ones who do, however, discover something the crowd never will: freedom. The freedom that comes from knowing you gave everything you had, from realizing that your worth isn't defined by comparison but by commitment. And though the road may be lonely, it's also sacred, because it leads to a life that few will ever taste and even fewer will ever understand. Discipline over motivation. That's the principle that separates those who dream from those who achieve. Motivation is fleeting. It's a spark that burns bright for a moment and then fades as soon as life gets difficult. Everyone feels motivated when things are going well, when energy is high, when success feels close. But what happens when the excitement disappears, when the results don't come fast, when failure strikes again and again? That's when discipline steps in. Discipline is the foundation that keeps you moving forward when your emotions tell you to stop. It's the ability to act regardless of how you feel, to stay committed when the world gives you every reason to quit. Motivation is emotion-driven. It depends on inspiration, mood, and circumstances. But discipline is principle-driven. It doesn't care about comfort or convenience. The disciplined mind does what needs to be done, whether it feels like it or not. That's why the 1% rely on discipline more than anything else. They understand that success isn't built in moments of excitement. It's built in moments of fatigue, boredom, and frustration. It's built in the early mornings when you don't want to wake up, in the late nights when you'd rather rest, in the silent hours when nobody's watching, but you still give your best. Discipline doesn't ask for permission, it demands action. The problem with motivation is that it's temporary. You can listen to a powerful speech, watch an inspiring video, or read a life-changing quote, and for a few hours, you feel unstoppable. But when the struggle hits, when the soreness kicks in, when progress slows down, when obstacles pile up, that motivation disappears. And that's where most people quit. They chase motivation like a drug, waiting for the next burst of energy to move again. But the disciplined person doesn't wait to feel ready. They've trained their mind to show up regardless. They know that consistency compounds, that every small effort builds momentum, and that the true power lies not in emotion but in execution. Discipline is not glamorous. It's not loud or dramatic. It's built quietly, in repetition, in structure, in the simple act of doing what others refuse to do. It's the person who goes to the gym even when it rains, the student who studies while others sleep, the creator who keeps building even when no one notices. Discipline is what builds character, and character is what sustains success. Motivation might get you started, but discipline is what keeps you standing when motivation dies. It's the muscle that grows every time you keep a promise to yourself, every time you show up and give effort even when you're tired, doubtful, or uninspired. There will be days when you don't feel like working, when your body screams for rest, when your mind begs for escape. Those are the days that define you. Because discipline doesn't depend on how you feel. It depends on who you've decided to be. When you are disciplined, your actions no longer rely on temporary emotions. They are guided by long-term vision. You stop asking, "Do I feel like it?" and start saying, "It must be done." You stop negotiating with weakness and start commanding yourself to follow through. That's the moment when your identity shifts from a dreamer to a doer, from someone who wants results to someone who earns them. The people who achieve greatness aren't necessarily more talented or more motivated than others. They're simply more consistent. They've learned that discipline is freedom. The freedom from procrastination, from doubt, from inconsistency. Discipline turns chaos into order, dreams into plans, and potential into power. It teaches you that showing up every day matters more than doing it perfectly. Because success isn't about intensity, it's about consistency. Motivation might light the match, but discipline keeps the flame alive. When motivation fades, discipline remains. It's the invisible force that carries you through the days when everything feels heavy. It's the quiet strength that whispers, "Keep going." When your mind screams, "Stop." It's the reason why some people never fall off track, because they've built systems stronger than their emotions. Discipline doesn't need applause, validation, or excitement. It thrives in silence, grows through struggle, and rewards those who refuse to quit. And once you master discipline, you no longer chase motivation. You create momentum. You no longer depend on fleeting feelings. You depend on unshakable habits. The world's tough. That's when success becomes inevitable, because you've learned the ultimate truth: motivation makes you start, but discipline makes you unstoppable. Obsession beats talent, because talent without obsession is wasted potential. The world is full of people who were born gifted, who had natural ability, who showed promise early on, but most of them never became great. They relied too much on what came easy and never learned the grind that true mastery demands. Talent can open doors, but only obsession keeps you walking through them. Day after day, year after year. The people who reach the highest levels of success are rarely the most talented. They're the ones who refuse to stop. They study longer, train harder, fail more often, and still come back hungry. Obsession is what makes them unstoppable. Obsession is the fire that burns long after motivation fades. It's that voice in your head that says, "Gan," even after you've failed 100 times. It's what keeps you awake at night, not because you're restless, but because your purpose won't let you sleep. The obsessed don't chase goals for recognition or rewards. They do it because they have to. They can't breathe without it. They can't go a day without thinking about how to improve, how to push further, how to outwork yesterday. That's why obsession is stronger than talent. Because talent is passive, but obsession is active. Obsession turns potential into performance. The difference between the average and the elite lies in repetition. The talented do something until they get it right. The obsessed do it until they can't get it wrong. They aren't satisfied with being good. They want to be untouchable. They practice beyond exhaustion, analyze every mistake, and tear apart their weaknesses until they turn them into strengths. They live for progress. They crave mastery. Every small improvement fuels their hunger for more. And while others stop after success, the obsessed see success as the beginning of a higher standard. They aren't addicted to the outcome. They're addicted to evolution. The world often misunderstands obsession. People call it unhealthy, too intense, or extreme. But every person who's ever achieved greatness, every athlete, artist, entrepreneur, or innovator, has been called obsessed. That's because the pursuit of excellence requires a level of focus that most people aren't willing to give. It means saying no to distractions, to comfort, to social approval. It means working while others rest, practicing when others celebrate, and sacrificing pleasures that don't align with your vision. Obsession isolates you, but it also elevates you. Because when you give everything to one purpose, you tap into a level of power that talent alone could never reach. Talent gives you an advantage at the start, but obsession keeps you running when the talented give up. Talent might help you win once, but obsession builds an empire that lasts. Obsession turns hard work into art. It transforms pain into focus, rejection into resilience, and failure into feedback. When you're obsessed, you stop counting hours and start counting effort. You stop needing validation because the work itself becomes your satisfaction. You become consumed by the process, and that's when mastery happens. When your craft becomes part of who you are, not something you occasionally do. The truth is, obsession doesn't just beat talent, it breaks it. Because talent gets comfortable, but obsession never does. Talent stops when it's tired. Obsession stops when it's done. Talent relies on natural ability. Obsession relies on relentless repetition. Talent is a gift, obsession is a choice. And that choice is what creates greatness. The ones who rise to the top aren't born different. They become different through an unending commitment to improvement. They don't wait for inspiration, they create it. They don't depend on luck. They manufacture results through sheer willpower. When you're obsessed, your focus becomes unshakable. You stop being distracted by opinions or setbacks because your vision consumes everything else. You don't need to be pushed because the drive comes from within. You wake up thinking about it, work all day for it, and fall asleep planning your next move. That level of devotion builds momentum that talent can't match. The obsessed don't compete against others, they compete against their own limits. Every day is a battle between who they are and who they can become. And every day they win, not because they're better, but because they refuse to stop fighting. Obsession is what turns ordinary people into legends. It's the reason why the less talented outperform the gifted, why the underdog becomes the champion, and why those with nothing still find a way to win. Talent is the starting point, but obsession is the finishing line. It's the relentless hunger to be better, to push boundaries, to chase mastery no matter the cost. When talent fades, obsession endures. And in the end, it's not the most talented who change the world. It's the most obsessed. Delayed gratification builds dominance, because true power doesn't come from what you get now. It comes from what you're willing to wait and work for. In a world addicted to instant results, patience has become a rare form of strength. Most people want everything fast, quick money, quick success, quick recognition. But what comes quickly fades just as fast. The 1% understand that greatness takes time. They delay pleasure, they sacrifice comfort, and they build piece by piece while others chase shortcuts. Dominance isn't achieved through impulse, it's achieved through discipline. It's born from the ability to say, not yet, when the world screams, now. Delayed gratification is the skill of vision. It means seeing beyond the moment, beyond the small wins, and beyond the temporary satisfaction that most people settle for. It's about understanding that every decision you make today is an investment in your future self. When you train instead of resting, study instead of scrolling, save instead of spending, you are building a foundation that few have the patience to create. The ones who delay gratification understand that time is the ultimate multiplier, that consistency over years will always outperform bursts of excitement over days. They are willing to suffer now to succeed later, to be misunderstood now to be admired later. The average person trades the long term for the short term every single day. They want comfort more than progress, entertainment more than discipline, results more than effort. But those who learn to delay gratification take the opposite route. They learn to love the process, not the prize. They find satisfaction in the work, not in the outcome. They don't chase dopamine, they chase development. Each small sacrifice becomes a brick in the empire they're building, and with time, those bricks turn into walls of strength that others can't break. When you master delayed gratification, you stop being controlled by your impulses. You stop living reactively and start living intentionally. Every decision becomes strategic, not emotional. You understand that success is not a moment, it's a lifestyle. Dominance is created when you can say no to the easy path, when you can endure boredom, and when you can focus on the mission while everyone else seeks distraction. Those who delay gratification play the long game. They think in decades, not days. They don't need immediate validation because they trust their process. And that patience is what makes them untouchable. There's power in waiting, in building slowly, in sharpening your craft without the spotlight. The strongest minds in history were built in silence, in the seasons where no one was watching. They chose long hours, delayed rewards, and invisible progress because they knew the payoff would come later. And when it came, it would be permanent. The ability to delay gratification transforms you into someone who can't be broken by temptation. It makes you immune to distraction because you've trained your mind to see beyond the moment. The truth is, dominance doesn't come from bursts of success. It comes from sustained consistency. The one who can delay gratification controls time itself, because while others burn out chasing quick wins, the patient one keeps growing. Every choice to sacrifice now adds up. Every time you choose work over comfort, discipline over pleasure, focus over distraction, you separate yourself from the crowd. You begin to rise above those who can't control themselves. That's where dominance begins. In the mastery of your own impulses. The road of delayed gratification is long, quiet, and often lonely. But it's also the most powerful path you can take. Because when you finally arrive, you won't just have what you wanted. You'll have become someone powerful enough to sustain it. You'll realize that dominance isn't about control over others. It's about control over yourself. The ability to wait, to endure, to stay patient in the pursuit of greatness. That's what builds unshakable strength. In a world chasing speed, the one who moves with patience always wins. Relentless self-accountability is the foundation of real growth. It means owning everything in your life. The wins, the losses, the decisions, and even the mistakes you didn't see coming. Most people run from accountability because it's uncomfortable. It forces you to confront your flaws, your habits, and the reality that your life is the sum of your own choices. But the truth is, the moment you stop blaming others and start taking full responsibility, you gain control. You become the author of your story instead of the victim of your circumstances. Relentless accountability is freedom disguised as pressure because it removes the illusion of luck and excuses, leaving you face to face with your own power. When you live without accountability, you live without direction. You become reactive, tossed around by life, blaming the world for outcomes you created. You tell yourself that other people had it easier, that circumstances were unfair, that the system was rigged. But those stories do nothing except steal your strength. The disciplined person, the one who practices relentless accountability, never allows those narratives to take hold. They understand that life doesn't owe them anything, that success is earned, not given. When something goes wrong, they don't point fingers. They look in the mirror. They ask, what could I have done differently? What lesson can I learn from this? That mindset turns every failure into a stepping stone instead of a dead end. Accountability is not about guilt. It's about growth. It's not about beating yourself up for mistakes, but about learning from them with clarity and honesty. The person who practices relentless accountability doesn't fear being wrong because they know that being wrong is how you improve. They don't run from criticism because they've trained their ego to serve their evolution, not their pride. Every setback becomes data. Every challenge becomes a test of character. Accountability builds awareness, and awareness is the root of change. You can't fix what you refuse to face. And that's why accountability is the ultimate power move. It forces you to face reality head on. Most people look for someone to blame when things fall apart. They blame the boss, the system, their past, or the people around them. But the 1% know that blame is weakness disguised as logic. When you blame, you surrender control. You give power to something outside yourself. But when you take responsibility, you take that power back. You realize that no matter what happens, you still have the ability to respond, to adapt, and to rebuild. That's what self-accountability really means. Not perfection, but ownership. It's the understanding that your future depends on what you do now, not on what others did before. Relentless accountability also builds respect. People trust those who take ownership, who don't hide behind excuses or deflect blame. But more importantly, you begin to respect yourself. Every time you own your actions, even when it's hard, you strengthen your integrity. You start to see yourself as capable, as responsible, as someone who leads by example. That internal respect becomes your armor. It makes you unshakable when life gets rough. Because when you know you are accountable for everything you do, you stop waiting for someone to save you. You become your own rescue. Accountability isn't glamorous. It's uncomfortable, raw, and humbling. It requires you admit that sometimes you are the reason things didn't work out. It demands honesty on days when lies would be easier. But that's exactly why it builds dominance. Because most people can't handle that level of truth. They hide behind denial while the accountable rise through awareness. The moment you say, "It's my fault, and I'll fix it," you step into power. You shift from being a passenger to being the driver. That's when your growth accelerates, your confidence strengthens, and your outcomes begin to change. Relentless self-accountability is not just about success. It's about becoming unbreakable. When you hold yourself to the highest standard, nothing external can control you. No excuse can slow you down because you don't depend on conditions, you depend on commitment. It's a mindset that demands excellence in every area of your life. You start making decisions based on discipline, not emotion. You stop chasing comfort and start chasing truth. And once you embrace that truth, that every part of your life is your responsibility, you become unstoppable. Because the one who takes full accountability holds all the power to change, to grow, and to dominate.